Hello everyone. Today is 14th of July 2025 and I'm sitting here with my beautiful husband Jakko and we are going to have a sacred conversation around humility. And this is a big thing. So we've started 5 years ago, I think, with creating online sessions for our students and their friends to guide them at that point through the COVID lockdowns, to really look back at what is the one thing that you are called to do today. Not what is out there in the world that we need to fight, not what is other people's concerns that you are worried about, but what is the one thing in the middle of all the chaos of the lockdowns that you really need to do today. Now, we started doing that in 2020, right after the first lockdown, because I realized that more and more people were drowning in chaos, drowning in news, drowning in worries, drowning in fears, and it was paralyzing them. And I don't really get that paralyzed, and I realized that has a lot to do with what I learned at sea. There might be a storm coming, but you don't know what that storm is going to do. You can't prepare for that. All you can do is make sure that everything that could maybe be needed is repaired, is fixed, is restored. You can make sure that you are aware of your crew and the state of your crew. So there are certain things you need to be conscious of, but of course you can prepare for certain things, but you never completely know what's going to happen. So all you can do is just make sure that you have a steady rhythm that's carrying the ship and that you do what is required right now. Now, we started doing that in 2020. And then gradually, at a certain point when the lockdown stopped, the group got smaller and we went back to once a week. So every Sunday at 5 p.m. Amsterdam time, we do a weekly check-in, and we have done a weekly check-in over the past 3 years where you are wholeheartedly invited to join for free. It will always be free. To look at how can I just look at this week? What is this week requiring from me? And how can I navigate my own path a little bit better this week? We started doing that, and at a certain point I realized a big thing. And this has everything to do with humility, by the way. That is that what I am really doing for me, I wasn't fully sharing. Now, this is a gradual insight because same with when we started this in the lockdowns, right? I thought, why is this so complicated for people? I've shared what you need to do. And I did share with people what they needed to do, but I didn't share the full backstory of how I do that. So this is why I gathered the group together and I invited everyone and looked at, guys, this is what I really do. Now, when we moved into the weekly setup of Sunday with Suze, which is what it was called then, I helped people to make a transition, which is beautiful, but I didn't share the full-fledged version of what I do because, very simple, because I tend to think that that is logical, that is common sense, that what I do is, of course, obviously what everybody does. Turns out, even my husband didn't fully know what I do. So what is it that I do? What I do and what I've been doing, I would say maybe for 25 years, maybe even longer, is in the morning I write letters to God. And in the evening I write and I have certain soul traits that are walking with me in life. So I have certain aspects of who I want to be that I am allowing myself to grow into. Because at a certain point I thought I want to be more humble. I want to increase my level of humility. And I started thinking about it and writing about it, and that wasn't moving the needle because thinking about these traits, thinking about what they mean, that will gain you a lot of insight and wisdom. That's cool, but it won't change you. It won't allow you to show up differently. So what I started doing every evening was once a week, I would change the soul trait and I would just write about how I am finding myself when it comes to that trait. And we'll go deeper into that. But the trait of this week, so last Sunday, we started with Soulful Sundays. We changed the name. It's no longer Sunday with Suze. It's now Soulful Sundays, where every week we will look into one soul trait. And you're more than welcome to join us. Just go to my website and there is a form where you can enroll, or send me an email or send me a DM on whatever social media app you're using and just ask me how to join and I'll send you the link. Because what we do is we share my practice of how to deepen my journey. Now, the interesting thing is when it comes to humility, for instance, because that's the trait we're talking about this week, there is a lot to do about humility and trauma. And people often don't realize that. We often think, I'm a humble person, especially in the Netherlands. We think, oh, I'm so humble, I'm so humble. But in reality, we're kind of erasing ourselves. We're not showing up. And then we're calling that humble. And then we get really resentful if somebody doesn't acknowledge us or see us not showing up. But in reality, that's not humble at all. Or we could be all the way out there saying, yeah, I'm just taking my place in the world and I'm just screaming off the rooftops who I am and look, and this is me just serving. For instance, there's a business coach who served a few people who were in this country in an illegal basis, and by now they've legalized their status. And she has helped them, which is beautiful. I really find that beautiful. But she's using it as a commercial. And there's nothing humble about that. Now, can we share about the beautiful things we do and be humble? Of course we can. Can we not take up too much space and call that humility? Of course we can. But Jakko and I are going to talk about what it really means, because humility means walking with God, not before God, not behind God, just walking together with God. And that is an incredibly narrow path, where the beautiful thing is that if you just journal and pay attention and become conscious of what you're doing, you will find that these two extremes of being too present, taking up more than your place, or taking up less than your space, if you find yourself doing either of these extremes, they will pull you back onto your path. There's not a whole lot to do other than becoming conscious of it and stop comparing yourself and stop trying to be whatever you're trying to be. Just allow yourself to walk with whatever God has in mind. Now, I've been talking for, I don't know how long, way too long. I want to hear you, Jakko.
Yeah, I start with a few questions to you because...
You want me to hear me talk some more?
Yes. Because when you say, for example, this coach, or I don't know who you're talking about, and that's okay, but you said she's sharing about that she helped some people, and a few sentences later you say the sharing is not the problem. So that's the thin line maybe you talk about.
That's a thin line.
And so I was curious why at one point it's not okay to share, or not humble. Maybe it's okay, but not really the humbleness that is very beautiful, I guess. I love the way you describe humbleness. It's really beautiful, and it's really very different than I know it from my past.
How do you know it from your past? Let's talk about that first, and then I'll answer your question.
Yeah, just procrastination. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It gives you time to think about the
Don't
answer.
walk behind God now. Go on.
Yeah, I think so. In my past, humbleness is mostly in practice, not in the idea of or intention, but in practice. Like I experienced it in my youth. Was that we didn't talk too much about emotions, or at least not our own emotions in a way that that it got too personal. So as long if it's about the government making stupid decisions or the wrong party is winning the elections or whatever, then you can be very emotional. But as soon as it comes to personal needs or love, especially, then it's very quiet or very. So it's not spoken out,
It's
not
interesting.
outspoken. So for me, I learned to be humble in a way that it was better not to express my emotions, and then also not to be too much in the picture, because that was more safe. So it was more about feeling emotional safe than really being humble. And I also see that in my parents, my sisters. And so being loud sometimes it was, but then there was a very clear external reason to do that.
I see that when I think of your family, but there's a big question that rises for me, and that is if we're coming from a place, and I know your parents went to church and they read the Bible, and if I think about that, so for me, Christianity has everything to do with loving your neighbor as yourself and fully honoring that. And I can't rhyme that with bashing the government.
Yeah,
These are interesting concepts for me that are the opposite of humility.
yeah, but there was in the meantime people around my parents. They love my parents because of that they were always serving and they were always doing things for the community, for their neighbors, being nice, being kind. Also, if people were in need, so they were helping and serving at the same time. But and also in a way that they don't try to get the credits for it.
Cookies. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was also there, and that was very beautiful. And I guess that's what I take away from it. So you don't have to get the credits for something you did.
No.
As long as you did it for just to serve and not.
But here's an interesting thing, because I do see it, and they are like that. Absolutely, 100%. And yet, I would say they are mostly on the scale of erasing themselves in order to serve, which is, if I look at true humility, they were not allowing themselves to serve in the biggest way possible without making it about themselves. Yeah. And that is walking behind God.
Yeah, and it has to do, in their case, with fear.
Yeah.
Fear, playing it small out of fear. They were the child when there was the war there.
And this is
and
also...
they come also from families who weren't that big and there. So
but I can see that this helps to bash people who are taking up their space, which is mostly politicians. Politicians can easily, government, they can easily take up their space. I'm just thinking out loud now, remembering your parents. Well, your mom is still alive, of course, but thinking of them and looking at, yeah, they were trying to save, but or serve, but they were always trying to serve people who were the same. And if I look at true humility, and this is not about Jakko's parents. They're lovely people, absolutely beautiful people. I'm just looking at, I think most people in the Netherlands have this idea, or most Calvinistic people have this idea of humility, of me being very small, not taking up a lot of space, serving the people who also are like that. And then we build up a resentment towards people who actually take up space. And if I look at loving your neighbor as you want to be loved yourself, then that actually means cheering on people who take up space because they're serving from a different place. Walking with God means really doing what you're called to do to the fullest of your ability, and knowing, so if I look at it, yes, being humble means being all right with wanting the last place. Not just even being all right with the last place, but wanting the last place. Yet, wanting the last place, yet if everybody wants the last place, then that's not going to work. So if a leader wants the last place, that's not going to work. So it's both. It is humbly accepting and receiving the first place if that happens to be your place, but not needing it for your ego. And that's a very complicated thing, which is why we don't want to burn our fingers on it, because, oh my God, there are so many people who are ego-driven. So now back to your question about the coach I was talking about, because it really ties into this fine line, right? What is this about? There is this fine line of serving, sharing, helping people, sharing about that you're helping people, which is really encouraging and lifting others up to do the same, and that is beautiful. There is an absolutely amazing beauty in lifting a ship, sharing about that, and then letting other people help lift more ships. Now, it stands and falls with the intention and with the strategy behind it. And if the strategy behind it is, I'm going to share about this because that's good for my business, it sucks.
Yeah.
Then we're walking ahead of God. And this is a very fine line. It has to do with pride. Can we be proud of what we did? Yes. Can we want karma cookies and acknowledgement for what we did? No, we don't need that. We need to be so secure and safe in our own system that either way we know we're beautiful and we don't need affirmations on that. And this is where exactly what I was sharing in the beginning, where both extremes will help you find your path. Because if you're walking behind God, you will feel resentment towards other people who are taking up their space. And that resentment doesn't have anything to do with them. It has to do with you navigating your way back to your own path. But then if you're on the other extreme and you're terrified of losing things, or you feel pride, or people are bashing you and you feel rejected in any way, then maybe you were blowing yourself up a little bit too big.
Yeah, I see when I look into the social media or people in positions or on whatever meetings, events, for me there seem a lot of people living their life as if it's a match that should be won, or at least not lost.
Yes. And this is exactly what we're talking about. And that is trauma driven.
Yeah.
So now the trauma comes in, right? Because in trauma, we have the overpowered state of trauma where we're constantly proving and driven by proof and driven by efforting our way through life, constantly busy, constantly serving other people. That's not service. That is us needing to serve. Otherwise, we don't know who we are. And it can benefit other people, but is it really? Or is it because you feel great about yourself while you're doing it? That's trauma driven. There's nothing wrong with serving people, but if it's depleting you and draining you, then it can actually be very wrong. And then you're not helping them and you're not helping you, because ultimately that will inflate again. So that's one part of it. And the other part of it, so basically, just to finish it, if something will break, you will lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's wrong with it. Then the other part of it is hiding. So we have the over-efforting, the constant pressure. And the other part is hiding, staying small, not because I don't need to take up more space, but staying small because you're terrified of your own form. You're terrified of your own hugeness and your own power and who you really are, because maybe you were hurt. Now, a lot of us don't know these traumas. A lot of us are not even aware that this might be trauma. A lot of us think, well, that's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's just who I am. We've had a lot of clients, hundreds of clients who said, no, but I'm fine. I make enough money. It's good, which I believe it is. I don't believe we need a lot of stuff. I'd be happy living in a tent. If we would have a yurt, I'd be happy. And yet, I'm not here to just be happy. I'm here to serve. I'm here to grow, not necessarily into more stuff. I'm here to grow into serving more people, into creating impact, into seeing what my abilities truly are and what I'm able to create. And if I happen to make money doing that, I'm more than happy to give it away, because I don't need more money, but I want to reach deeper. And I don't need to reach 8 billion people, even though it might be beautiful if I could. That's not my ambition. My ambition is to do the one thing that I'm good at with such depth that the people who will be reached by me, it will have made an effort. And that's a different kind of service. That's a service from humility. And if I happen to reach 8 million people, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though if I would do that today, it would terrify me. So, and that is the path.
Mm-hmm.
It's not striving, allowing, not surrendering in giving up, like saying, oh yeah, you know what? It's all up to God. That's not humble either.
If you would say, I need to serve 8 billion people, then you would be a front.
Exactly.
And not with.
Exactly. And it's a constant working together with.
Yeah.
One of the things I realized in my journaling is that, for instance, and this is where you can find the trauma, right? So it's not about judging yourself while you're journaling around how humility plays out in your life, because if you're judging what you're finding, then that's not very humble. Because then immediately you're competing with an image of yourself, or you're competing with other people, or you're competing with whatever your mind says it should be or should not be. And we need to be okay with how we find ourselves so that we get choice back, not so that we can punish ourselves. But true repentance means allowing ourselves to choose consciously. And that means becoming aware of how we have been choosing and saying, hey, is that really what I wanted? Maybe not. That's okay. And loving yourself anyway. One of the things I've been finding myself to do over the past years is that when I was small, I always had to have the answer before I got the question. It's a big thing because my dad, when he would give me maths equations in high school, or I would ask a question, he would say, well, you need to give me the answer. And I would say, but I don't understand the question. And he said, yeah, so go to the living room, make sure that you understand. And I said, but I came to you to ask it. And he would get so mad, and that was so traumatizing for me. These were such huge fights. And today I get it. He's not a very good teacher. He just didn't understand why I didn't understand it. But as a child, I just felt wrong for having a question. If I made a mistake, I'd get severely punished. Physically punished, and emotionally punished, cut off. And the repercussions for not having the answer or not even understanding the question were huge. So I have been driven, not by perfectionism, I'm not a perfectionist, but I've been driven by needing to have all the answers before anybody could ask a question.
But if you say so, then could it be a trauma and a pattern that you developed?
Yes. Yes.
So it's not your soul that...
No. So the interesting thing is when I was journaling around humility, I was realizing, I'm not walking with God. I'm always trying to be 10 steps ahead of God, trying to make sure that God doesn't have to interfere and doesn't have to help me. That's not walking with God.
It's trying to be, to please God and hope for the blessings.
Hope that he won't abandon me. That I was hoping that he wouldn't abandon me. By the way, I did the same in our marriage. I'm not sure if you noticed.
Of course.
Just described the first 15 years of our 20-year marriage. Well, not completely, but...
There were some good things in it.
Yes. And this was not the only thing. This is not my only pattern. And there were also benefits to the pattern.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Especially when you not know them yet. So
yes,
then you see only the profits. Or you think that there are profits, but...
Yes.
Yeah.
So humility shows up in weird ways. How does it show up for you?
Maybe it's just a very small example, but I like to play music, and especially jazz music, and I like it even more when there's a session where you can improvise. And so I play trombone, and when I started to do jam sessions, and even still sometimes now, if I'm on the stage where I think, okay, these are very, very good musicians and even professional musicians, then I am waiting for permission to have my turn, to have my go for an improvisation. So, and sometimes when I'm in the right mood, I can take my part and be just how to say this, anticipating and right in time starting, so that I'm clear for everyone, but which is, by the way, for everyone nice if you just take your part and be there. Yeah. But sometimes I was just waiting, and then in the end they started to play the theme again, and then the song was over and I didn't even have my turn. So that could be happening, and nowadays I'm more confident that they don't oversee me and give me my turn. Yeah. But now I am even in the place sometimes that I'm take care that the other players have their minute of fame. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and there is a reciprocity that is natural and organic, but we'll only be able to see if we allow ourselves to take up some space.
Yeah. And I think this is metaphoric for where I am in my journey in life, that I can take up more space than I used to. And even now, it could be far more than I do.
I
But
believe this is a journey.
yeah,
It's not a place that we need to get. I don't think there's ever going to be a place of now I reached humility.
and what I really love that I am able to only show up when I'm up to. It's not that I have to.
What do you
Sometimes
mean by that?
so on some events or some circumstances I don't feel like I have or I want to contribute or I have to contribute or and then okay it's go what you want to do but it's not for me this and
Yeah.
then I'm very okay to be quiet or just do my own thing and then
Yeah. So there's no fear of missing out there.
no
No.
no
That's beautiful.
no it's not that I have a fear that people don't see me or don't get me or
No.
don't allow me.
No. It's interesting. I have the same with my art. We're now sitting in our seminar room, and there's a lot of art pieces that I made here. And some of them I made 15 years ago, maybe even later. I've always been creating, always been painting. And for me, that used to be something that I would do to process my own emotions. And I do it not hoping to create beauty, but because it helps me, like journaling helps me. I'm not writing a book, I'm just journaling my thoughts. I'm not creating art, I'm just processing my emotions. And then I think about 15 years ago, friends of ours came over for dinner. And the woman is an artist and the man is a carpenter, or actually a furniture maker. He makes really, really beautiful furniture. And we were talking about art, and I was talking about that I create art to process my emotions. And he said, "Oh, I never knew you did that. Could I see it?" And I said, "Well, that was not the purpose of me sharing it." And he said, "Well, okay, fine, but now that you shared it, can I see it?" And I said, "Well, actually, no, you can't." And he said, "Well, that's a shame. I'd really love to see it." And I couldn't allow that. Now, after an hour or so, I said, "Well, if you really want to, you can see it. But I don't want you to say anything about it." And he said, "Would it be okay if I actually enjoyed it?" And I said, "Well, that's a very good question. I'm pretty sure I would not appreciate it if you would enjoy it." I didn't want people to see that inner part of me because it was so raw and so vulnerable, and it was so deeply about who I am and about parts that nobody could see. It was between me and God, and I didn't want anybody to see it. These paintings were hidden behind cupboards. Nobody could randomly see them. Even if you would search, you wouldn't even be able to find them. And he looked at it and he said, "I actually really appreciate this, but you don't want to hear any of that, so that's fine. But I want you to know that I really like it." Now, when we moved into this home, I found one of them. And I thought, oh my goodness, I processed this right after I was doing a whole lot of journaling about my goals and my dreams and my visions for who I want to be. And I found it again, and it's over the coffee machine here in the seminar room. And I thought, I'm going to hang it up. And my first thought was, and I don't care if other people like it or not, I'm going to put it on the wall. So from hiding it, I got to, I don't care if you like it. So if anybody would enter this room, I would say, I don't care if you like that. And now I'm realizing 5 years later, over the past year, I've realized it's actually okay to like it. And I like it. I really love these pieces. I created an angel and I really love her on the wall, and she makes me incredibly happy and soft, and I love that work of art. It's still okay if somebody doesn't like it. That's fine. But it's also absolutely beautiful if somebody loves it. And I would say that that is me growing into humility. It's the exact same thing as you just shared. Is it okay to share your deepest things? Is it okay to show up with them? Are there parts in you that are too raw or too hard or too human to see?
Yeah, and I think this is about music or art, but especially it can be really emotional already when people have an opinion about your work of art because it's very personal. But then when it comes to a real pain or emotions or whatever we go through in life, so it's that if you talk about the journey I made, that's the real big journey that I'm able to open up with my emotions, desires, and all kind of pain from the past or pain from the now, pain or worries, or so I used to keep it for myself most of my life.
Yeah.
So and trusting that I can come up with everything what is there. That's the big thing.
That's the big thing, right? Yeah. That all parts of us can be met.
Yeah. And then if you then talk about humbleness, then I think and humility, it's that sharing that and feeling permission to share that and being open with it. That is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and in today's world, it's not always safe to share all parts of us. And I would say we have the perfect practice ground for true humility. I was writing about humility, and I was journaling, and I wrote, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself truthfully in proportion to God. It is the posture that allows us to receive wisdom, correction, love, and presence. And it is the ground where the soul can stand barefoot and be met. And especially that last sentence, I was surprising myself while writing it. It is the ground where the soul can stand barefoot and be met, where we don't have to dress up our soul.
Yeah, so without a mask or even without an ego for as far that is possible.
Exactly.
Because we have an ego, but
it can be met knowing that it is, and I absolutely think that it is crucial that we can meet ourselves and we can love all parts of us so that the rest of the world doesn't have to. When I say I love my angel on the wall here, I love the works of art that I created, and I'm thrilled to share them with people, and if they don't like them, that's fine. That's not what it's about. I'm happy to share it, and I'm happy if you don't like it, and we can be great friends and have different taste. That's beautiful. Can I see yours, and can you see mine, and can we just be happy with all these parts without needing acknowledgement, without needing approval? Now that's easy to say.
Not even needing happiness about it.
Exactly.
If it's there, it's there.
Yeah. I don't need a response. I don't need the world to give me anything in order for me to feel any specific thing. I can feel in awe of life, in awe of God. And more I'm realizing a lot of people say God-fearing, or that we need to fear the creator. And what I believe that to contain is that we are so deeply thrown back on our knees in awe of all of life, of the power of pure life, that we feel small in comparison to that force. That doesn't mean that we need to be afraid. It means that we need to be humbled to the very core of what I always say: we are dust and ashes. We really are dust and ashes. We are absolutely nothing. And yet, the world is created for us. This entire world is here for me, and I can use it, I can be in it, and I can play with it, and I can show up in it. And both are true. Both are true. And if both can be true, then we can be in awe of God, in awe of creation, and yet know our place in the whole, knowing that even though this world was created for me, it might not be right to ruin it. And even though I don't need to ruin it, I can take up space in this world and live in it and enjoy it. Both are true. And I think true humility means both. It really does mean both. Constantly looking at not just our desires and our will, because yeah, we have a will and yeah, we have desires, but is the thing we desire also the right thing to do according to the image that our soul has of us? And these are really important conversations that I feel the world needs to have a lot more.
Yeah, and I think if you think about the creating force that created us, and the explanation that you give some other time about how after so when the cells meet in the woman and then how it grows, you did it
into an embryo,
yeah, several times already, so maybe you can hear this in another episode because I don't want to repeat it all. But I think the same force is also in us to, after we are born and we are grown up, we can go on with the creation of all kind of things.
Yes.
And that's the force that I love, the creating force. It's not about the getting force or
exactly.
And I think that's most of what we can do in life. Just create beauty, create safety, create service, create whatever.
Create experiences, create connection.
Yeah, experiences.
Create. Not to make money, but create to share. And if we create and we share, money will come. And it's been true for 50 years in my life, and it's been true for all the people I've ever met. If we just create to share, and we create from a divine place to share with other people the beauty of that, then life will work.
Yeah, and maybe even if we don't allow the creating force to create, we start to demolish.
Exactly.
Because the force is there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the more we trust that we are here, and because we're here, we take up space. And because we take up space, we have a place in this world. The more we trust that to completely be true, the less we need to scream off the rooftops and feel insignificant and hope for people to approve of us and be afraid of rejection, because all these things come from a deep trauma-driven place. But we don't even need to heal all these traumas. We need to just bring our consciousness to, hey, how am I navigating these extremes, and how are these extremes calling me back? Humility, looking at what humility means in your life, looking at how your life is navigating this golden thread, this balancing thread, I would say, will actually soothe your nervous system. It will bring everything to a softer, more beautiful light, it will create the peace that you're looking for. Just bringing your consciousness to these themes.
Yeah, I think one of the most important conditions for that is that as long as you think of a God like a judging God and judge your actions and your creations, then like you didn't wanted to show up for a long time with your art.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to show up as who you are, the creating person, if you think you're gonna be judged anytime.
Yeah.
And that's one condition. I think for me there's not as such as a judging God that judges every action or every step I take.
Or is ready to punish us. No, I think God is always willing and ready to elevate us and to lift us up if we can sit with open hands and just show all of us to this world. And the more we just sit with open hands, ready to receive and also ready to take our place in this world, both ready to willing to receive, willing to take our place, and not try to pump ourselves up and know better than God, then we're walking with God. And the more we do that, the more we will find answers to every question that we have. Because ultimately, the questions are always there. It's just, and the answers are also in the questions even. I am not sure that we want to solve each and every question in our life and then relax. I actually think that it is in walking with the questions that life is unfolding, and that is the beauty.
Yeah.
So this was Jakko and me talking about humility. And next week, we will be talking about the next soul trait. And I'm not sure what that is by heart. But if you enjoyed this conversation, then stay tuned, because we're going to talk about all these soul traits of gratitude. What are the other ones? Oh, there are so many. Gratitude, strength. Let me see if I can find a few. Oh, I don't have them here. Okay, so stay tuned for all the soul traits, because our sacred conversations are going to be around how they show up in our life and how we can navigate life deeper and deeper and create a world that is truly beautiful to live in. As always, share this episode with your friends, tag them, send us a message if you have any insights or questions. And if you want to join Sunday with Suze, or Soulful Sundays, sorry, it just changed its names, Soulful Sundays, let me know. It is live on Sunday at 5 p.m. There's no recordings, but you can always join us live. I hope to see you there, and I hope that you have a blessed week. Bye.
Bye.